All right, welcome into another College Football Saturday. It is the Johnston RV Center Saturday preview presented by Champy's World Famous Fried Chicken. Same crew as always. He is Lance Taylor. He is Jim Dunaway. I am Ryan Brown. EG will join us from Bryant-Denny Stadium, where she'll have Bama, Arkansas today. Coming up a little bit later in the show. Boys, what's happening? Dunaway, you good?
I'm good. I was telling Maggie how I hate being I'm going to blame it on my age, but part of it was the score. I mean, it was 29-0. And I was like, talking about Stanford, Colorado last night. I was like, I'm not gonna stay up for this. I want to be alert for the great 2:30 window. That's my struggle time on Saturdays. I'm fine at 11. I'm fine late, but 2:30, if the games start to drag, I find myself having to get up and shake a little bit. So I was like, I'm gonna go ahead and hit the old sack. 29-0. This game's over. Deion's about to roll it up here, and they're going to get a nice 45-7, 56-7 win on a Friday night national television. I woke up and I was surprised.
This is why you need to go to mybookie.ag. You could have played the team total over 24.5 for Stanford. So I stayed awake to watch that second half, just hoping, because I saw Stanford. They had the ability to move the football in the first half. It just didn't equate to points. So I was like, this thing could be one of those garbage times. Maybe they just, they're down so much they're able to catch this thing back up. So I was like, that after that third quarter where they scored 19 unanswered, I was like, here we go. We got a game. And I will tell you this, clean read, Colorado will not win another game this year.
Yeah, it's a tough schedule because people are now talking about them trying to get bowl eligible, which they got to find 2 more wins.
No, not happening.
I don't see any more. I mean,
we were counting Stanford as a gimme. That was their easiest game left.
Yep.
And then you were choosing either Arizona or Arizona State, right? Or they already played.
No, they've already played Arizona State. It was Arizona. It was Arizona or bust.
Yeah, it was Arizona and Stanford. You get both those wins, you're going to be bowl eligible.
Yeah.
And I don't have it in front of me, but Arizona's there, Utah's there, Oregon State.
So here's the way it lines up. So they got a bye this week, and boy, that's a tough way to go into a bye.
Oh boy, yeah.
Got a bye. Then you go to UCLA. They're not beating UCLA. UCLA way too physical for this team. They're not beating Oregon State. They've got to go to Washington State. They've got to go to Utah. Arizona's the only winnable game in Boulder. That's it.
Yeah, they're not going to go to a bowl. They may not go winless. I mean, it wouldn't shock me, but they're not going bowling Dunaway, I don't think. And that was going to be Coach of the Year territory for Prime if he could get them bowling. But, he's pressed almost every right button. It's been controversial, right? I mean, it's been controversial, but he's pressed almost every button correctly until this game. And I think that just shows you how difficult it is to do that job for a living. It is so hard. And I mean, was Deion a different coach in the second half than he was the first half? They were up 29-0. He's the same coach.
Look, I really don't know how much he coaches. Everybody was talking Charles Kelly and this defense in the first half. And look, it was a bend but don't break. But in the second half, Ashton Daniels, quarterback for Stanford, just completely went off. And when you look at the numbers, almost everything's identical between the two teams, except for penalties.
Yeah.
17 penalties for Colorado. And we talked about it early. When they get into some of these games, they're going to lose some games based on penalties. And that really was the difference.
Yeah. Remember, Alabama has 14 penalties on the reg, it seems like these days. So I don't know how much of that is coaching, discipline of the players, whatever. But I will say this, that remember Sean, Coach Burke, that we talked to? We met up at Ocean City. Yeah. He came down for an Alabama game. He and I were texting this morning, and he asked what I think about that. And I was like, Nick Saban, who is now the greatest college coach of all time, had to endure the bump of the road of Louisiana Monroe in his build. It wasn't for Coach Prime. It looked like it was starting off so much easier for him at Colorado because maybe the portal or whatever. Obviously, Colorado, much tougher job than Alabama. And I was just thinking to myself, man, Nick Saban had to come into Alabama and rebuild that roster and lose to Louisiana Monroe. There's not going to be a loss like that. And Stanford is still a Power 5 team, so it's not the same loss. But I think in the long run, we will appreciate the job Colorado is next year and the year after and what Prime builds, because this is a reality of what this roster is. I think we've gotten so used to this team putting on a show and being competitive that we forget how bad this roster was and the build that Deion has to do. It's a long way to get to the point that he's got to work to get this where he wants it to go. And he's got a few good players. Nick Saban had a few good players that first year too, and it took a bit. Took 1 year. Took 1 year to get really good, and that's where Deion wants to be next year.
Well, and here's the difference, though. I just don't remember Saban blowing a 29-point lead, and you had your best player back in Travis Hunter. And Shedeur, if Deion wasn't the coach and Shedeur wasn't Deion's son, we probably would never talk about Shedeur, even with these numbers. He's already passed for 2,500 yards. He passed for 400 last night and 5 touchdowns. He is playing incredibly behind one of the worst offensive lines I've ever seen. He's on pace to be sacked a record 6 times. Now, they were better last night. They only gave up 3 sacks. But the offensive line is terrible. And I just don't know how you blow a 29-point lead at home to Stanford, a team that had won 1 game against Hawaii. They had lost 4 consecutive games coming into this.
But see, I played on the other side, Brown. Go ahead.
Well, no, you're going to comment on that. I was changing.
Yeah. I was going to go ahead and flip it around, LT. I think it's more amazing that with that offensive line, that they were able to win the games that they won early. And now this is more of reality of what that roster is, of what Luganville was talking about in the preseason and all that. I think it's amazing coaching and individual efforts of what they were able to do to this point, not what it has become, because this is what they were all along. Yeah. I just think it was amazing what they did to get what they did already.
I don't disagree at all. And I think that's something we kind of brought up. Now the losses are going to look worse than they should for Deion.
Yeah.
But even with that said, if you just would have had a track meet back and forth 46-43 loss to Stanford, I could stomach that. But to be up 29-0 at half and to lose that game, I mean, again, you guys went to bed because there was no shot they were going to lose that game.
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like Missouri LSU last week, 22-7, Brownie. That was one game that I'm sure Eli Drinkwitz has been sitting here all week. We were up 22-7. We were up double digits in the second half, and we let that game get away, or we'd be undefeated today.
It's wild that he keeps getting the ball first in overtime. I cannot figure out that strategy to save my life. And then the opponent lets him off the hook doing it. Stanford should have gone. I'm not awake, so it's all hard for me to say this, Lance. You were the one of the 3 of us up watching this. Why does Stanford not go for 2 in the win in the first overtime?
I think it's one of those gut things. But if you're Troy Taylor, there wasn't an expectation. Again, he's in year 1, coming from Sacramento State. There wasn't an expectation for him to even, sniff around 5 or 6 wins.
Yeah.
You're in a situation where you're down 29-0. Most people would shut this down. You've got to go for the win.
I agree.
It baffles me. And you know what's crazy is like clock management, gut feel. I know it's easy for us to say, but it seems like easy decisions on a lot of this stuff. And these coaches are making millions of dollars to make the wrong decision. And what sucks for Troy Taylor and Stanford is they're sitting around. Now they're questioning themselves, why didn't we go for 2?
Yeah, no. They get the win, though, and Colorado State did the same thing, got the loss. Both of them had a chance to go for 2 and end the game and did not do it. I don't understand that. If a coach is going to take the ball first, I'm going to go for 2.
Yeah.
Especially if I'm on house money the way Colorado State and Stanford were. Jeremy shut it down 29-0. Kyle shut it down 29-0. Bob, blink everybody that's responsible for Pac-12 vanishing. Good job destroying college football. Pac-12 after dark is very, very fun. Josh comes back to say, I took the any team will score over 40.5 bet at mybookie.ag. Had no idea it would end up being both teams.
I'll tell you, man, wagering has always been so much fun if you do it responsibly. But now with all of the options, with the player props and the game props and Dunaway the other night having the Rashid Rice over 73 yards. I mean, there's so many different things that you can wager on. And it just makes these games so much more entertaining because I would have shut it down, which in hindsight, I kind of wish I would have shut it down where I'd be a little fresher for today.
Yeah.
But that team total is what kept me awake. The only play we had at lanceslog.com, winner, Tulane. I left one restaurant, walk-ons, to go to our buddy Travis Grappo's, and I saw Brown and his family. But it was 10-0 when I left Tulane. I felt pretty good. They had blown some opportunities, and I get there, and it's 14-10 Memphis. And I'm like, what the hell? And then I doubled down at halftime. I felt really good about Tulane. I don't know why. Memphis comes straight out, gets a touchdown. They're up 21-10, and then it was just all Tulane. But what to know last night for you. We've got 13 plays up. Brown, I need to send you the additional plays.
I got it. Lunsford sent it to me. We're good.
Yeah. I love how naive our social media director Taylor is. She's not naive. She's playing a role here. She says, "Does Tom Luganbill deserve some apologies now from the social media and internet trolls for his comments preseason about how bad this roster was?" And she knows that won't happen.
No, it won't happen.
Yeah. Trolls don't come back and say, "I may have been wrong."
And I don't, Luganbill's not a guy that would want an apology. We've talked about this before. His intent wasn't dogging out Colorado. It was talking about their depth, and it just came out the wrong way. He obviously got crushed for that. He's going to end up being right. I mean, they're going to be better than we thought, no doubt, but they're going to be 4-8, and they're going to be, a couple of wins over what Vegas thought they would be. But this isn't a great Colorado team. I mean, Travis Hunter's he's special. I mean, he's special.
And so Shedeur. I mean, it's a good show, man. It's entertaining every time they're on TV, and I give them that. It's must-see TV. I can't believe I turned it off.
He said that though. The funny thing about Luganbill is he meant to say depth. He wasn't really dogging out the entire roster. He said they've got an NFL quarterback and 2 NFL cornerbacks. And one of those was Travis Hunter that he was talking about. The other was Shiloh. And we'll see how Shiloh turns out. Probably is going to be an NFL quarterback. But he was pretty much spot on in a lot of things he was saying.
Here's
By the way, he had his hat on yesterday on Fox.
I did see him wearing his new next round gear. Here's one of the beautiful things about college football, Chris. Today is my 8-year-old son's first all-day tailgate here in Baton Rouge. 1 hour in, I think he's hooked. A couple things in that, boys. 8 years old in a tailgate, awesome. That game does not kick until 6 o'clock, and they're already an hour in tailgating. That's going to be a day right there now.
It's funny, and this just makes me think of this. His first tailgate in Baton Rouge, that's almost like a foreign country. So last night we were having dinner, and my older brother Shane is in town, and he's got this friend from Germany, and they had met in New York City. He was telling this story because one of the waitresses asked for Jack's ID, and I'm like, he's not drinking. He just, you guys know that Jack looks older than he is. And so Shane brought up the story that he had met his friend from Germany, and he brought his son, and they're sitting in New York City. And his friend said, "Do you mind if my son gets a beer?" And Shane's like, "I don't mind, but I think the legal system here is going to mind." His son was 12 years old.
Oh my word!
Yeah, and my point is, like in Germany, I think the drinking age is 14 or 15, and so it wasn't that big of a deal based on their culture. And it's like down to that LSU tailgate, I could see 12-year-old kids having a couple of cold beers and nobody thinks anything about it.
My friend who passed back in 1992, Nick Stribling, his family was a military family and they were stationed in Germany. So when the kids were growing up, they drink beer, like we drink Coca-Cola, Diet Coke, with meals as they got to a certain age. And they started, when I was over at their house in high school, Nick would pop open at age 14. He'd sit there and have a beer with burgers and hot dogs. And I thought it was the coolest thing ever. I'd always want dinner at the Striblings.
They drink good, don't it?
Yeah.
I mean, 12. I mean, that's pretty strong sitting in New York City. Yeah. You care if little man has a beer? He's like, I don't care. I mean, the dude, look, his balls hadn't dropped. If you want him to get a beer, go ahead.
My mom heard this a lot. She's like, "Hey, what do you want for dinner?" And nothing. I'm going over to Nick's for dinner.
All right, let's get to today's action. Johnston RV Center, I-65, exit 304 in Coleman, 334 in Decatur. They just returned from the Fall River Expo, the FRE, as we call it here on the show. And that's the one that's got all the floor plans for all the new stuff that's coming out. So what they do there is they're like, man, our customers are going to love this, this, and this. But what it also means is they've got to make room for that stuff. So the Call of Fall is going on right now at Johnston RV Center, which means you get great deals, absolutely great deals on the stuff they're trying to get out of there. And you can get on the road, camping out, under the stars, in the woods, wherever you want to go this fall. Johnston RV Center, I-65, exit 304 in Coleman, 334 in Decatur. Always online at johnstonrvcenter.com. And great tailgating done away. We're talking about tailgating in Baton Rouge. You can get it at Champy's too.
That's right, Champy's Chicken. And before I tell you about Sterling and the folks at 119, LT, what is the deal today with plus or minus 2.5? some of my plays today, it was like the folks at mybookie.ag, something had stuck on their keyboard. There were so many 2.5 lines as I was playing them today. What is happening? What's a 2.5 line?
You see that a lot in the NFL because, if a number's 3, you can't buy in the NFL anymore. And I think a lot of people are setting this. It's kind of like the old $99 price point. It's more appealing when it's at 2.5. But I think a lot of these numbers, going through the board, a lot of these, there are some miscalculations out there. We've got 13 plays up. But a lot of these numbers are set the right way this weekend. We're in October. They should be. By the way, I got to bring this up. I know my neighbors are pissed right now because I heard all of this noise coming from the back. Yesterday, dude was out blowing leaves and wet leaves. But I walked out and Harbin's is out here, and I've got so much stuff going on in the backyard, and it was in the 8 o'clock hour on Saturday. So I'm like, here's my payback.
That's
Why
it.
not? Why
You've
not?
lived it.
Why
You've
not?
lived it.
Yeah. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 lines that are either minus or plus 2.5, 2s that are 3s, and then 2 that are 5s. This is going to be a competitive hell of a day of college football. That's what this is.
No doubt about it. You can play them. MyBookie.ag code next round. MyBookie.ag code next round. Still got that 110% sign-on bonus going on right now. That is free money for you. You make your initial deposit right there at MyBookie.ag. They match it 110%, giving you that extra 10% right there. Free money. You can play, win with it, win once, and it is yours forever. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie.ag. And don't forget, as Lance said, 13 plays at lanceslock.com. You can do just a package today, daily package, if you just want to try it out. Weekly, monthly, full season, lanceslock.com. He has been red hot in football. I think Lunsford set up like 14, 15 units right now in football, or the last month. Just the last month of 14, 15 units. And 28 units on the line today, 29 units, I think it is, Lance, on the line today.
It's a lot. I can go
it's
back
a lot.
to
So a lot out there.
I apologize. These are the friends that hit me up for plays.
That's okay.
You take care of that while I point this out at mybookie.ag, Brownie. I don't know if you ever get on the website and see everything they have. So they've got squares you can play, like the old gas station. Yeah. So I'm in on 2 squares today for the Alabama-Arkansas game.
I thought about doing that, and the beauty of it is, like, you can – am I right about this? If I looked at it right, Dunaway, you could go as heavy in a squares game as you want, like a $10 square game, $100 square game. Is that right?
That's right. That's right.
Have you looked at the money bag, Dunaway? Have you done the money bag thing on there?
No.
It's pretty fun. So you can click on the money bag, and you can pick a category. Let's say Alabama, Arkansas. And first player to score, it spins the wheel. You might get Kool-Aid McKinstry at, say, plus 2,600. You might get Jermaine Burton at minus 100. You don't know what you're going to get. And it's just kind of fun. You go drop $5, $10 on that and just spin the wheel. And if you hit it, there's a chance to cash in pretty big. So a lot of fun stuff there at mybookie.ag. Code next around when you sign on. Speaking of Alabama, Arkansas, this morning, mybookie.ag, the Tide opened at was going off at a 19.5-point favorite. Total of 46. 11 a.m. ESPN game. Lance, I know you don't like the 11 o'clock games, though if you could give us a few. People always like the ones you cut. I'm not sure if this is one of them. Bama, 19.5, I think, is an easy play here. I think the Tide rolls big today.
Man, I have heard, I don't want to say it's inside information, but I've heard from 2 different sides on Arkansas struggling and Alabama struggling this week in practice. And I've said this all week, I think it's a difficult game to handicap. I think the number's about right. Arkansas has been worse than advertised. Alabama's still a project, in my opinion, that's getting better and better. I think Jalen Milroe is going to have a big day. This is one of those that I said I would go through and I'll find some player props for you guys to play.
Yeah.
And I'm getting on mybookie.ag and taking a look at that right now, but I would stay away from this. Arkansas is just in a spot that it seems like it's kind of a tailspin right now, and their schedule is just every year. Arkansas schedule is brutal.
Yeah, your point, LT. Arkansas has been in so many close games this year against really good competition. Games they could have won against LSU. If Rocket Sanders doesn't play, which seems to be a popular thought process right now, that hurts them because he is a game changer. Even if it's a questionable game time decision and he plays, that means he's nowhere close to 100%. So that's an advantage Alabama. KJ Jefferson is still dangerous, but Alabama's defense is something you feel comfortable coming in to this game with. My question becomes, can Alabama establish a run game against a really good Arkansas defense, or do you have to put it all in Milroe's hands again? And as no matter how good a quarterback is, without a run game, it is 10 times more difficult. So love to see Jace McClellan and Roy Dell start to run the football a little bit today to take a little heat off of Milroe.
Hey, y'all will love this. Last night I was at dinner and I was texting back and forth with our friend on the inside.
Yeah.
Who
might Tuscaloosa?
Might run a book. No.
Gotcha.
On the inside. Yeah, and we were going. I sent him some of my plays for tomorrow, and he was talking about some of the things. And he said it was big last night on the inside. Stanford, everybody's on Coach Prime.
Oh, cleanup job right there, huh?
Yeah.
Oh my God. What was that?
Okay.
That
that was Bullet. Yeah, I gotta clean this. I got water everywhere now. They got water. Those damn dogs, man.
Dog fight. Yeah, so big night in the commissary. Big night in the commissary. Dunaway, my Lord, those dogs.
Nonstop.
Dunaway, it is nonstop. Those are active dogs.
Mine are asleep downstairs.
No, I didn't even heard from mine today. MyBookie.ag, the dog in the blue collar is minus 120 right now, Dunaway. Minus 120.
I've got a money line on Bullet.
Bullet's starting to become the alpha. I will tell you that.
Yeah, I grew up on those hard scrabble streets out in the woods, man.
That's right.
Dunaway, 11 o'clock Peacock. Ohio State an 18-point favorite over Purdue. A total of 52 in this one. Just kind of another boring Ohio State game, it seems.
Hey, but speaking of needing to get the run game going, Ohio State, I know they've got some injuries back there, but they need to get the run game going. They've got to help Kyle McCord out before they go to play Penn State, or before they play Penn State next week. They need to use today to develop a run game and at least put that on tape to where Penn State has to worry about that. That's a look ahead game next week for Ohio State, Penn State. For both those teams today, they should win easily. Ohio State over Purdue in West Lafayette, Penn State against UMass. But my goodness, Ohio State does not run the football with consistency enough to survive Purdue and Michigan this year.
You know,
it's Penn State and Michigan.
A couple of years ago, but Purdue, for whatever reason, plays well as an unranked team against a really highly ranked team. They've got 11 wins against top 3 teams when they're unranked, and that is the most by far since the poll started. And I don't know. The thing I find interesting is, you know, before we get into next week, is people already have come to the conclusion that Penn State's beating Ohio State. And I can't remember a time where, you know, we've ever been in that situation. I mean, I don't know if you guys have heard it, but I'm hearing it nonstop. Penn State's a better team. It's going to come down to Penn State and Michigan. Ohio State is not going to be able to play with Penn State this year. And it just blows me away. Like, I think Penn State has looked like the better team, but we're still talking about Ohio State. They've yet to lose.
Yeah. And Brown, Ohio State's played nobody, but Penn State's played nobody.
Yeah.
Ohio State, I mean, how good is Notre Dame? That was a 3-0 game at the half. Right now, if you said, Jim, put your money on 2 teams to beat Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan easily, I think I agree with him, LT. I think it comes down to the Penn State-Michigan game.
At this point, Penn State's best test is West Virginia or Iowa, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, so I think that's at least Ohio State's played Notre Dame on the road. I feel like I know a little bit more about them, right?
Yep.
To the 2:30 slate, the 2:30 CBS game, Lance has a play on this one up at lanceslock.com, so he'll be careful with his commentary here. But if you've paid attention to the show, you know who his upset alert was this week. Tennessee, -3 at home against Texas A&M, total of 54.5, 2:30 CBS game. Here's what I'll do. For those of you that are going to Lance's Lock, if you watch the show, you know where Lance leans on this game. But here's the beauty about Lance's Lock. You don't know how heavily Lance leans on this game. That's the units. That's where the units come into play. So, Lance, we know you like A&M. We just don't know how heavily you like them. You still feel that way. You said it Tuesday. You still feel that way this morning.
Yeah, I still feel good about A&M. I really do. They're the better team. Now, much like Alabama, Max Johnston is still a quarterback that can turn it over. And if he does, different things can happen. I just don't – this is weird. Like, we knew there was going to be a drop-off from Hendon Hooker to Joe Milton. We didn't know how big of the drop-off was going to be. And I'm not blaming it just solely on Milton. I just – the defense overall might be a little improved. Tennessee's just not what they were last year, in my opinion. There's just not that explosion. I don't think that offense really strikes fear in anybody. And I think Texas A&M's defense just got overshadowed last week because they were playing probably a better defense than Bama. But I think Texas A&M's got a top 5 defense.
From when I've watched Tennessee so far, the thing that has would scare me about their offense, if I was the defensive coordinator, has been their run game. And I don't think they can run on Texas A&M like they have other opponents this year. And I can't get the way Tennessee looked on. I know it's a home game today at Neyland where they've won 12 straight, but that Tennessee team at Florida was out of sync. And they got Alabama next week. Big game today. I agree with LT, man. This Texas A&M team, if their mind's right. I mean, Jimbo Fisher lost that team last year. Could he have lost them last week? That's it. To me, that's how Tennessee wins the game today. If Jimbo Fisher has lost his locker room,
there's a couple of games that I kind of am, and this is one of the difficulties about handicapping and wagering on the other side, is you don't know where some of the headspace is for some of these teams.
That's
you don't know where A&M is. We don't know where Miami is. This could be like a galvanizing moment where this team goes up and they play to their potential, like we saw them against A&M, or it could go completely down based on Mario Cristobal not going to victory formation. So to me, that is a fascinating game tonight at 6:30.
And then I throw Notre Dame into that mix as well, LT. For me, head case games today are Texas A&M, Miami, Notre Dame, and then they play each other, Missouri and Kentucky. So both of those, I don't know what headspace either one of those will be in. By the way, I'm playing all 3 of those teams today. I like Texas A&M, I like Miami, and I like Notre Dame. I'm here for the craziness. I'm here for the craziness.
Thing ever is playing teams that I have head games going on. Yes,
yeah.
The Dunaway locks of the year. Actually, I like your plays there, Dunaway. Nobody would know it more than you, right?
Yeah, that's right. I'm in their heads, man. Texas A&M. I take Texas A&M the points. Miami the points. Notre Dame, give it the points. Yeah.
All right, let's go 2:30 ABC, the big game of the day, biggest game of the nation today. Washington -3, playing host to Oregon. 67 is the total today at mybookie.ag. Another game Lance has a play on at lancelock.com, so we'll start with you again, Lance. Bo Nix, Michael Penix Jr., it's hard to get a better quarterback matchup in any game this year than what we'll have in this one today.
Man, if you would have taken me back to just 2021, where Bo was battling for his job at Auburn and Michael Penix Jr. was playing bad football under Tom Allen in Indiana, and you would have said in 2 years, these guys are going to match up in one of the biggest Pac-12 showdowns in the history of the conference. And by the way, their last year, there's so many weird things happen now in college football. But yes, I am super excited about this. 2 elite quarterbacks, 2 coaches that are really rising in the ranks, and 2 really underrated defenses. I think this thing could go either way. I'm staying away from the total. I do like a side in this, but this could be one of those games that plays like 27-24, or it could play 48-45.
Yeah. Either way, though, that's an entertaining game. And we do have a stake on this one, right? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's my only comment. I've said all week.
I'm
trying not to give it away, but I've talked all week long about the team I like, so I don't want to give away his pick.
Actually, we did post. It's just a 1-unit play though. So
okay.
All right. Florida 2:30 on the SEC network is at South Carolina. The Gamecocks a 2-point favorite, a total of 50.5 in this one. Dunaway. Billy Napier just does not win on the road, and it feels like Shane Beamer is in need of a win. If you start looking at bowl eligibility path for South Carolina, which I think most Gamecock fans did not consider this to even be a discussion going into the year, bowl eligibility path, this is probably a game he needs, Shane Beamer.
Yeah, 100%. He's unbeaten at South Carolina out of a bye. Spencer Rattler's playing good football. His offensive line is not great. Billy Napier's changed up his road routine this week because they have been so bad on the road. So they're not staying at the scary hotel breakfast where they're like, "You want some eggs?" They're staying at a place where they get the waffles. So they're going to try to change things up. Some reason it's not on my board today, but some reason I like South Carolina in this one, LT.
South Carolina to me is the better team. But if you go back last year, South Carolina had the better season, right? They seemed like the better team than Florida. Florida beat them 38-6. Florida, we've talked about their road woes. It's insane. I think they've lost 13 of 14 away from the swamp, and they're 1-7 on the road under Billy Napier. Number's only 2.5. I lean South Carolina, but South Carolina is so inconsistent. I wouldn't play this game.
Yeah,
there's too many good games out there.
ETN's a little banged up coming into the game. We'll see what he does. Expected to play, I think, but we'll see how good he is.
Do we have any DraftKings out there?
Lunsford threw one out. I don't know if he put it in the chat room. I think he did. Lunsford threw one out for all the next round.
Yeah, I got it now.
Got it now?
Yeah.
What, did Dunaway just remind you of a good play in DraftKings or something?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, it's not going to share that one with you.
ETN? You're going to play ETN?
I don't know. He just reminded you of something.
Didn't say that. You did remind me of something, though.
All right, another game up at lanceslock.com. Again, lanceslock.com for all your plays today. You can do a daily package if you're brand new to it and just want to try it out. A ton of games up, ton of units up for play today for Lance. One of those games is Iowa at Wisconsin. It is a 3:00 Fox kick. Wisconsin is a 7-point favorite. Iowa and Wisconsin a total of 35, which should surprise no one. Lance, am I right? Wasn't this hovering around 10 earlier in the week? Am I right about that? And it's down to 7 this morning at mybookie.ag. That number's dropping.
That's right.
Yeah, really strange. I don't know what's going on. I haven't seen. I mean, somebody had to have been struck in that game.
Dunaway, have you seen what happened? I know you.
I have not. I just know that we made a stake bet earlier in the week. I had Iowa plus 10. So when I checked my bookie today, it was down to 7, and I was like, "Is that good?" I was going to ask LT, "Is that good for my side, or is that bad for my side that it's down to 7?"
Well, I wonder if it's. I mean. Is it player related?
I mean, it'd have to be a quarterback to drop in 3 points in that game, wouldn't it?
Well, I mean, if Braylon Allen wasn't playing for whatever reason with Ches Malusi out, I think that could do it. I mean, he's that good.
Yeah. So it's a good thing for the folks who had Iowa plus the 10 that it's down to plus 7 is what you're saying.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Well, a total of 35. It's probably good if you got the under 2 because it's probably an offensive player that is questionable or out.
Yeah.
Which would certainly help you there. 3:00 Fox.
We had one of our friends reach out to me last night and ask me the lowest total in college football Power 5 history. And so I had to do a little research for him last night. But I told him, I said, I guarantee you a recent Iowa team was involved. And when I started looking through it, it was last year. It total went off at 31.5. It was Iowa and Minnesota, and it ended up going under 13-10.
I mean, how do you go under that number?
See, I would have picked Army-Navy, one of the Army-Navy games. So
yeah.
Iowa, Minnesota, huh?
Yeah. Wow. Well, okay, so let me pull that back. That was the lowest total in Power 5 history. Okay. So maybe Army-Navy has that.
Yeah.
I've never seen a total in the 20s on any level. So 31 is about as low as you can go.
All right, Johnston RV Center brings you this show. Johnston RV Center, I-65, exit 304 in Coleman, 334 in Decatur, the Call of Fall event. You want to go camping in the fall. It's when it's the most beautiful, the cool weather. It's just fantastic for it. They can get you hooked up right there, Johnston RV Center. It's a great time as well. Huge savings because they've just returned from the big event where everybody is the Fall River Expo, where everybody goes and sees the new floor plans of the fifth wheels, the RVs, the haulers, all those things, and they select what they want. That means it's going to start getting delivered. They got to make room for it. So great deals right now, amazing deals. I-65 exit 304 in Coleman, 334 in Decatur. Always online, johnstonrvcenter.com, and Champy's Chicken as well, Dunaway.
That's right, champyschicken.com, man. My wife just got back in town, so I'm not going to try to convince her to go down there and get us some great Southern fried chicken. But if she did, she'd go down there and she'd get the dark meat. See, I'm the white meat guy. I love the 2 big breasts and the sides. She likes the dark meat, nice and juicy, because Sterling brines it overnight, then cooks it to order, she is picky about her fried chicken, and she raves about Champy's world famous fried chicken every time I bring it home. Champy'sChicken.com, Highway 119 in Alabaster, hand cut chicken fingers and Mississippi Delta recipe tamales. It's fantastic.
Also, don't forget all these games we discussed available right there at mybookie.ag. Code next round for that 110% sign-on bonus. That's free money. You can play it today. Win with it once. It's yours forever at mybookie.ag. Code next round. Alabama is at home for homecoming, of course, and it is Arkansas coming to town. Our own Emily Grace McWhorter, number 13, EG, is there in the press box at Denny Stadium and joins us now. What is up, EG? How are you?
I think this is my coolest background I've had so far. I mean, this is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
Good look.
It is a good look.
Every time I walk past that, I remember the games. I walk past it, and I'm always like, "Oh, I was sitting here. I was here. I was here." It is a great place. Are you going to go full voice here, or are you going to do golf whisper voice with all the other media people around you?
No, I think I'm going to do somewhat in between, if you will.
Yeah.
Lots of hustle and bustle behind me. It's breakfast food this morning, which is good for me.
What do you say, Dad? You want some eggs?
You like the eggs?
So, EG, I know you've had a chance to listen to and talk with on the teleconferences and all Nick Saban and Sam Pittman. What's your feeling for both? Let's start with Sam Pittman because I get the feel of Nick Saban, but when you listen to Sam Pittman talk, it's a coach that is getting a little bit of criticism now. The offensive line isn't quite where they want it. They can't run the ball. Their quarterback's getting beat up. They've lost some games there. This is a tough spot for Sam Pittman.
It is. And I think one thing that stood out to me on the teleconference was that he said it's hard to win a game when you can't run the ball. And you're not going into an easier setting this weekend in that perspective. And so I think for Sam Pittman, being able to hang in this game is going to be huge. I think that Alabama, obviously, we're seeing a lot more confidence from them and Jalen Milroe, their run and pass game, like we saw last week against Texas A&M. So I don't know. It's an interesting spot for Sam Pittman, but he's very experienced, in my opinion, in terms of a coach and how to navigate these things. But as an Arkansas fan, I'm sure you're kind of headed into this morning like, man, I do not want to be here.
No.
Can you guys hear me?
Oh, yeah. I think.
Okay.
I think.
Jump in.
I was going to. I thought Lance may ask you a question, or Brown was going to just interview you. It was my. I fell asleep.
Hey, mango days. It happens.
Yeah, the old mango days. I would tell you that today's atmosphere will be something I'm interested in. Just the fans moving around tailgate as you made your way into the press box. Looks like a normal game to you, or is it a little slow start for the fan base?
It's a little bit of a slow start for sure. I did notice that on my way in, and I got here about 40 minutes ago, and the students, they're already up and out. I've seen some Arkansas fans, some students actually, and they were in a great mood, yelling "Woo Pig" from the balcony. So I thought that's a good sign for them. But it is homecoming, like you said, and so there's a different atmosphere. There's lots of families, and so I think it'll be really fun to see just the festivities of all of that at this noon kick, and just get to experience homecoming in Alabama.
Oh, that helps. And if it's homecoming, I forgot it was homecoming.
Yeah.
So they've already had the parade this morning. So things are good.
Yes.
They burned boxes and wood last night on the bonfire. So it'll be a good crowd. It'll be fantastic.
Yeah, I think a lot of these home games have lost luster. Like, Arkansas just doesn't seem like there's a buzz. Next week, if Tennessee was to lose to A&M, that completely crushes that game.
No way.
Right.
It's payback. It's payback, man. They could come in over after losing last year to them, LT. Come on.
Now, what's interesting – no, sorry, Lance. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I had somebody call me yesterday, and they're looking for tickets, and they're like, we've never been to an Alabama game. Should I wear a Tennessee hat? And I was like,
Oof.
If last year wouldn't have happened, I would have said you're completely fine. But based on last year, I don't know if I would. I tend to go neutral colors.
So 2 things. One, my grandma, who is a diehard Georgia fan, will actually be here today. Her and my dad are coming, and I think he has her in Alabama, just an Alabama shirt. But 2, it is a completely different atmosphere vibe, because if you guys remember, my first game here was Texas-Bama.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it is each week, obviously it's an insane game. It was so awesome. And so I'm seeing the different facets of what this press box can look like.
Yeah. You're probably not going to match the fever pitch of Alabama, Texas today. I'm just go ahead and warn you.
Right.
And I think also now that some of this will be dependent upon opponent, but I think the homecoming crowds generally, I think this is true of a lot of places. You get a lot of the alumni that come in that haven't been to a game. They kind of sit on their hands a little bit. So I would say don't expect a hot environment today there in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah.
Tennessee and LSU though, you'll be like, oh, this is almost Texas again.
Yeah, it'll get back for you there. All right, you'll have post-game reaction. EG, what do you anticipate? We'll hear from Nick Saban, maybe some of the players after the game.
Yeah, so I'll be in post-game with Coach Saban as well as some players. You never really know who we're going to get, so we just kind of roll with the punches there. But I'm expecting a good performance from Alabama. I think I want to see a clean game of football. That's what I want to see. Low penalties from the Crimson Tide, and I think this is an opportunity coming off of Texas A&M to continue to get things right, especially heading into Tennessee next weekend.
All right, make sure you're following us at Next Round Live on social media, Next Round Live on the YouTube channel as well. Make sure you subscribe to that and set your alerts. You'll see everything EG has from Bryant-Denny Stadium today for Bama and Arkansas. All right, enjoy it, EG. Thank you.
All right, bye, guys. See you after.
Have fun. See, that's Emily Grace McWhorter. Number 13, we call her. She is live there at Bryant-Denny Stadium. All right, let's get to the night games. EG saw Auburn and Georgia a couple of weeks ago there, and Jordan-Hare, the Tigers, are on the road now as they go to LSU this morning. MyBookie.ag, LSU, Dunaway, favored 11, a total of 60 in this game, a 6 o'clock ESPN kick. The sun will be finding its home in the western sky as this game kicks off.
That's right. For a night game, this is the perfect time of year to be at Tiger Stadium because they will make that announcement because the sun won't set until the game gets started. It is a wonderful announcement. The sun has found its home in the western sky, and it's officially Saturday night in Tiger Stadium.
That actually gave me chills when you did that. If you've been there for that, it is pretty cool. When they
do it's awesome.
They do a lot of good things there. The thing I can't figure out is which Auburn team's going to show up. If it's Auburn versus Georgia, this is going to be a hell of a game. If it's Auburn versus Texas A&M, this will be an LSU beatdown. Coming off the bye week, I don't know how much Hugh has been able to work on that passing attack because the weak spot of LSU LT is that secondary. So to me, if Auburn's going to win, you expect him to be able to throw a little bit on those corners. And that's the path to victory for Auburn. And can they slow LSU down at all?
Yeah, I think Auburn's quarterback situation is awful. I think it was like everything kind of lined up right for that performance against Georgia, in my opinion. Now, the one neutralizer is Hugh Freeze coming off a bye. I think he's that good offensively. I think he's got a brilliant mind, and he could scheme up some things that could – I think what will be interesting is the first 15 plays of Hugh Freeze. Like if Auburn doesn't get off to a fast start and they don't get points in the first quarter, it is going to be a long night. Like this could be a complete whitewash.
Auburn is hoping it's a big night for the underdog.
Oh, look, you got a dog, Brown.
Wow.
Little Charlie Brown.
Yeah.
That is not Charlie. Is that Charlie?
That's Charlie, yeah.
Yeah.
He looks different.
Little Charlie Brown.
Oh, he's
Charlie looks more stuffed.
LT, look, he's blinking. He's sending Morse code.
He is.
He's looking at LT's dogs. He's like, my Lord,
Save me.
things are massive.
Save me. Well, I'm going to go get Angus in. Hold on.
All right. I don't know why Charlie just showed up down here at my feet. I'm down in the basement. He just arrived down here. I figured he wanted to be on camera.
I do. I think the LSU. I mean, this is one of those things. Like if Auburn plays them tight, I think the narrative is going to be, man, LSU's defense is just awful. Like here we go again. But I think this is more of Auburn getting better. Like last year, LSU year one under Brian Kelly, and this is why it's so disappointing to me that they've already got 2 losses. I really thought they got better each game last year, and I thought they were going to build on that in year 2. I don't think Hugh Freeze can go anywhere but up.
Yeah. Oh, Angus.
Y'all got some cute lap dogs.
What kind? Yeah, I know. Yeah, mine's like 5 pounds. What
just
kind
like,
of dog?
Just like Dunaway. He's going for the microphone, man. He wants to talk.
I know. Can't keep him off that mic.
It's a long-haired Dotson, man.
Long-haired Dotson. I got you.
Oh.
Let's go to another game Lance has at lanceslock.com. Kansas State at Texas Tech, LT. Texas Tech, a home 1.5 favorite at mybookie.ag this morning with a total of 58. This is a 6 o'clock FS1 and crystal clear FS1 tonight?
The Disappointment Bowl. Both of these teams. I mean, really, I had a ton of expectation in year 2 under Joey McGuire for Texas Tech. And, Kleiman wins the Big 12 last year. And I thought that they were going to be as good even without Deuce Vaughn. And it just I think what killed Kansas State was that Mevis kick, the 61-yarder to beat them. If they find a way to beat Missouri, I think there's a good chance they're still undefeated. They came into that Oklahoma State game. They were like dazed and confused. That wasn't the Kansas State team I'm used to seeing. I think Kleiman probably gets this thing going in the right direction. And I think they're a better overall team than Texas Tech. The one thing is this game is in Lubbock and some weird things happen there.
Yeah, I feel Texas Tech for some reason. I like the Red Raiders in this one. I don't know what's happening with Texas Tech this year. I mean, Kansas State. Remember, Texas Tech was supposed to be contending for the Big 12 championship. I think they try to salvage the season with a good finish here and a better bowl game.
Yeah. Every time Lance's dog barks, Charlie does the hey, another weird
Bullet
game.
doesn't bark. Bullet has never barked. It's only chili.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
A off the radar game that might be off your radar that could be a really good game tonight. Another game Lance has a play on at lanceslive.com is Wyoming at Air Force. 6 o'clock, CBS Sports Network LT. Air Force, an 11.5-point home favorite. 41.5 total, so they don't expect a ton of points, Vegas does, in this game as Wyoming comes up the mountain. This is an altitude game, but Wyoming is used to altitude games, so I'm not sure how much that plays into it.
Wyoming's coming off a big win against Fresno. Fresno had the second longest winning streak in college football behind Georgia until the loss last week in Wyoming. This Air Force team, though, man, they're legitimate. They're undefeated. They have only scored under 39 points one time. They're only giving up 12.2 points per game. The defense is legitimate. Troy Calhoun's done a great job with this team.
I'm so sorry. My dog is such a distraction.
Stop. Leave it.
I would say in this one, our injury to Wyoming running back is why I don't think this game will be closer. Air Force, I forget where I read it, but from week 2 on has been projected by a lot of people as growing to be maybe the best group of 5 team. Play good defense, hard offense to stop at home. I like Air Force in this one too.
A question from Ben: where can you play these games if you live in Alabama? I've always had to use overseas places. MyBookie.ag, use it all the time right here. We were just talking about Dunaway and I playing some of the games there on MyBookie.ag. Code next round, Ben, when you sign up there, and they're going to give you 110%. So your initial deposit, 110% bonus. They're going to give you free money, Ben, just for signing on MyBookie.ag. That is MyBookie.ag. All right, let's get to the later games here as we wrap this thing up in the next 10 minutes. You mentioned these 2 games done away as mental check games, or however you described it. I can't remember how you described it. Lance has a play. Head games. Lance has a play on this one. USC, Notre Dame, and South Bend. Notre Dame this morning at MyBookie.ag, Dunaway, a 2.5-point favorite, total of 60.5. And again, in this one, they are playing for the Jeweled Shillelagh tonight. They're in South Bend.
This is the season for Notre Dame. This is what's left for them. This is their 4th straight ranked opponent.
Yeah, and you've made this point often. One of the challenges that Marcus Freeman faces, that Notre Dame coaches face, is you can't win a conference championship there.
Nope.
So once you get a couple losses and you're out of the national championship hunt, it's all for pride at that point. And that's where they are, Dunaway.
It's a different Notre Dame team right now. The first 4 games, they averaged 40-plus points. The last 3 games, they're averaging 18 points once they really started to get into competition. And they look tired to me. But you never know what you're going to get with USC. I mean, they were down 17-0 before you could blink last week to Arizona and a backup quarterback. They come back, they win the game in overtime. I'm just waiting for this defense for all of these sacks and tackles for losses and forced fumbles, which they're in the top 5 nationally in all those 3 categories. I'm waiting for those to transition to more points for USC.
For me, it's can they get Estimate going running the football? They could not against Louisville. And that turned to Sam Hartman interceptions for the first time this year because he had to force some things because they had no running game. So can they run on USC's defense and make this game shorter to keep Caleb Williams off the field? And can they give Sam Hartman, who I think is really only effective on play action, right? That's when he's at his comfort zone. So that's, I think, Notre Dame's path to victory. It's on my board. I'm going to take Notre Dame in this one.
Lance, as a USC fan, do you care more about the Jules Shillelagh game, the Notre Dame game, or the victory bell against UCLA? Which one's the bigger rival for you?
So the more competitive game recently has been Notre Dame. I mean, USC hasn't been there since 2011. I think the rivalry's a little overhyped, to be honest with you. Now, going back to the 70s, that's when that rivalry, and I wasn't a USC fan back then. That's when that rivalry was in its heyday.
Yeah.
It's hard to get UCLA and USC good in the same season. Notre Dame and USC seem to be good a lot the same season. I don't know. I'll be honest with you. The rivalries out west are so different than the rivalries we have around here. There's just not great rivalries.
See,
So,
I think in modern times, guys, I think of USC Oregon as a rivalry game,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah, the Pac-12 games, it's whoever's good, right? I mean, there's like no history behind it. There's no border that a lot of them share.
yeah, I mean, the protected game of the Big Ten is Oregon and Washington. I mean, look,
Yeah.
I'm excited about it today. It was a great game last year, but, you know,
Yeah, I don't.
historically, what does that do for you?
Yeah, I don't. To your point, to his point, Dunaway, I don't grab the schedule every year and say, okay, when do Oregon and Washington play? I got to circle
Right.
that one. Right?
Yeah. But you do, and I don't do that with USC Notre Dame usually either, or USC UCLA. I do Texas Oklahoma,
Yep.
Ohio State Michigan,
Yeah, all
those games. Yeah.
Yeah, my lasting memory on this rivalry is when Notre Dame first busted out the green jerseys and then the Bush push.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
those are really the things that jump out to me. I don't know. I mean, I'm excited. And I brought this up a couple of times this week. If Notre Dame would have won this past week, I mean, this is a massive match.
Oh, huge. Yeah. Huge national championship implications. All right, Dunaway, another head game. Lance has a play on this one, so we'll start with him. North Carolina playing host to Miami. Carolina laying 2.5, 6:30 ABC, total of 57. It's a head game. If you happen to miss it last week, I don't think anybody missed this. Miami completely gave one away to Georgia Tech. LT, that's got to factor into this. It's Dunaway's called it a head game. He's absolutely right. It's got to factor in.
You've got to because I think Miami might be the more talented team. I know that's hard to say coming off a loss to Georgia Tech and the way they lost that game. Tyler Van Dyke, big game for him, man. Everybody's going to be talking about Drake May rolling into this game. Carolina 5-0 for the first time since 1997. And again, another game that would be massive if they took victory formation last week, because you've got undefeated. But Miami still has everything in front of them. You know, I really believe Miami, with that win over A&M, if they were to win out, I think Miami still is in college football playoff.
Yeah, I'm a Miami guy today. I think they bounce back. They rally around the coach. And I go back, as I watched Miami, went back and looked at Miami, Texas A&M. They did a pretty good job against that Texas A&M, a couple of good receivers. That may play well for them today on the road. That was a home game. This one's in Chapel Hill. It'll be interesting to see this Miami secondary against those great receivers. Who is it? Amarian Hampton, is that his name? Hamilton for North Carolina. I like Miami in a very close contest. I took them plus 2.5 on my big board today.
Dunaway, another head game for you. Kentucky playing host to Missouri, 2.5. Missouri's the head game here with a total of 50.5, 6:30 SEC Network. You think Eli Drinkwitz has kicked himself all week for that loss to LSU?
Oh, they had the lead 22-7 and then double digits again. I think in the fourth quarter, I think they were up double digits still. But I think Missouri's the better football team here. The big running back for Missouri, LT, what's his name? Caleb? Is it? Can't remember his name now. Big running back from Missouri. Don't have my notes in front of me. He is.
Oh, he's Cody Schrader.
Yeah, that's it. Cody Schrader. He's got a quad injury. Game time decision will not be 100% in this one. That hurts, but Luther Burden's the best receiver in the SEC. I like the way Brady Cook's playing. I'm going to take Missouri to win this game against Kentucky today.
Well, you're going to tell me halfway through the season you guys didn't have Ray Davis and Cody Schrader as your top two?
No,
rushers?
no, you know who I would have had? I would have had Quinshon Judkins and Rocket Sanders, and those guys aren't there.
But you could have told me Jarquez Hunter. You could have told me any of these Alabama running backs. It is amazing. Those are your two leading rushers. And it's not – I mean, both of those guys are really good.
Who's got the better defense in this game? I think it's Missouri, right?
Normally you would say Kentucky, but you think it's Missouri. I mean, it's hard to say that the way they gave up all those points to LSU, but everybody's giving up points to LSU. But my last image of Kentucky's giving up all those points to Georgia. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I lean Kentucky just based on coaching. This number, I would feel better Kentucky wins if it was 3.5, but because it's 2.5, I kind of lean Missouri. I'm staying away from this game, though. It'd be a really good game.
A late ad. This is the latest ad at lanceslock.com today. Oregon State playing host to UCLA. Oregon State 3.5, total of 54. 7 o'clock Fox game, primetime on Fox. Lance, you saw something this morning that made you say, ooh, I like something in this game. So it is also up at Lance's Lock.
Well, I've been looking at it all week, and I wanted to pull the trigger, and I finally just got to the point where I'm like, I'm putting this game in. These are two really well-coached teams. Whatever you feel about Chip Kelly, and it's taken him a long time to get UCLA in this position, their defense, both these defenses are really, really good. The offensive line for Oregon State is a dominant offensive line, and it's strength on strength. UCLA is so good against the rush. Oregon State's so good at running the football. This might be a hint. This has become a really physical UCLA team. And we had a 5-unit play on them last week, and we were kind of fortunate to get that just because of a couple of mistakes. But watch Carson Steele run the football. MAC transfer. He's got all that hair flowing. It's a really physical team. The thing that scares me about UCLA in this spot is Oregon State gets after the quarterback, and Dante Moore is not your traditional Chip Kelly quarterback. He's not really a mobile guy at all. He's a pocket guy. And, where they were last year with Dorian Thompson-Robinson, it's just a completely different dynamic. Now, I think Dante Moore is going to be absolutely fantastic in the next year or two. But this is one of those places, too. We talked to Brock about this on Unlocked. Corvallis is a tough place to play.
Yeah.
That sounds weird, but it really is.
Well, I played them yesterday in my pick 3, and they're on my big board again. I like this UCLA team, and I think they're going to be a fit down the stretch for all the teams. I mean, they're the spoiler in this whole Pac-12 race to try to make a college football playoff. They could be the one team that, if you survive and beat a team that you think, okay, we put that great Pac-12 team out of the way, and we're going to go and win the Pac-12 championship and make the college football playoffs. Oh, then there's UCLA, and they beat you. And that's what UCLA is this year. That's on my big board, Brownie, and that wraps up my big board there.
Show it to me. I was going to tell him this is going to be really hard for you to do holding a dog, by the way.
Here we go.
All right, here we go. Here's the big board from Dunaway.
Michigan, Iowa State, Oregon, Texas A&M, BYU, and then we'll go the other way like we're on the Weather Channel. Air Force, Notre Dame, Miami, Missouri, and UCLA. 21-22 against the spread, man. You can't beat that. 21-22 against the spread.
You can if you go to Lance's Lock. We've got
Lance'sLock.com. By the way,
up
in the corner, you got the QR code up there. Lance'sLock.com. You got how many plays up today?
I got 13.
What's wrong?
These dogs, man. I mean, Beachlands are great dogs, but these two, there's a reason they've been rehomed. And I can't give up on them, but boy, they try my patience. It's nonstop. I mean, they just tear shit up nonstop. I mean, Bullet, literally, Chili just did this to the pillow. Bullet just pissed all over my floor.
We're about to wrap up. Don't forget, as you see right there, mybookie.ag, 110% deposit bonus. You sign on, make a deposit. They match it 110% free money. Bet anything, anytime, where mybookie.ag.
LT, why would you not want this in your life?
Dog's barely moved. It's like he's stuffed.
I need Lady Bird to give them a lesson. I hope you guys hear that.
All right, Johnston RV Center has brought you the show along with Champy's World Famous Fried Chicken. I-65 exit 304 in Coleman, 334 in Decatur. Johnston RV Center. The Fall River Expo is over. They are back with all the new stuff that they're going to have on the lot very, very soon. So they got to make room for it. So the call of fall, if you want to get out and do a little sightseeing this fall, do it with an RV from Johnston RV Center. I-65 exit 304 in Coleman, 334 in Decatur. Always online, JohnstonRVCenter.com, by the way.
That's right. And Champy'sChicken.com. When he had his head laying down for a second there, Brandon, it looked like it was a rowback I had on.
That's the biggest
Champy-
throwback logo I've ever seen.
champyschicken.com, Highway 119 in Alabaster. Sterling, get you ready, and you can watch the games while you wait on your food or you eat. It's all cooked to order. It is Champy's Chicken. Sterling is the best.
Real quick, Brett asked for our late night time. That
After
is
Auburn LSU.
To be determined. We'll go after Auburn LSU, but USC Notre Dame's going on then. So Jim and I may start it, and Lance joins us after USC Notre Dame.
Oh, let's wait till after USC Notre Dame.
Yeah, I'd kind of like to see the
or you guys. Well, we can talk about this. I might tap out just because I got older brother in town.
Yeah,
and they want to do something tonight. I told them we can't do anything till after USC Notre Dame, but if I do the first game, but we'll figure it out.
Well, I tell you what. You know who might replace LT Dunaway? Little T. Get Little T after an Auburn LSU game. Either way, it'll be entertaining.
Yeah.
All right. I agree.
Okay.
I see Troy over there need a firmer hand, LT. I can't spank my dogs. I just can't do it.
Oh, man. All right, here we go. Y'all enjoy the games. We'll be back with you after Auburn LSU at some point. Set your alerts so you know when we're live all over YouTube, and follow us at Next Round Live. Thank you to Johnston RV, Champy's Chicken, Lance'sLive.com, and MyBookie.ag. That is MyBookie.ag, code Next Round. See you guys after the game.